Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live Q&A here on the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. My name is Michael Bridgman, and you, my friends, are fantastic and phenomenal business owners looking to get rocking and rolling here and crank up your results. So very excited to be with you here today. And there is some really good questions that we're going to tackle. You'll see them right in the description here of what it is that we're doing today. But I want to applaud you, my friends, for being on here with me today. I have got some cool streaming software that I'm playing with. It's very much like this. So if you see me goofing around a little bit with my new fun software, just bear with me as we enjoy our 30 minutes together where we tackle some very important key questions. So I've got a number of them here. I've got questions from Roger, Cindy, Diane, and Chuck, all in regards to how to help your small business get better and more traction. Now, before we dive into those questions, just a couple housekeeping things. If you are part of the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle Facebook group, then welcome and thank you so much for joining me here. If you're following this live on YouTube, or if you're following this live on my Facebook business page, then pop on over to the Facebook group and join us. It's totally free Facebook group. We give, my team and I give lots of value inside that group about how to help small business owners tackle some of the biggest marketing challenges that they face, because we all want to grow our companies, right? You want to grow your revenue. I want to grow my revenue. Joe Blow down the street wants to grow the revenue. We want to have a bigger impact and we want to make a big difference in the world. And in order to pull that off, we've got to make more sales. And marketing is the magic key. Marketing is the magic dust, as it were, to sprinkle on our businesses to help them grow and make a bigger impact. And you can find out more about like how I stumbled into being good at marketing, all these other things over there on the Facebook page. Plus, inside that Facebook page, my friends, you'll find some really cool resources that are just waiting there for you, like the 5 days for 1 year of marketing workshop. It was like a whole boot camp right in that membership site. So you can grab all the workbooks, get all that stuff right inside the boot camp, and take it right there within the framework of the Facebook group. But without further ado, let's jump over to our questions, shall we? We're just a few minutes into our live here, and we're going to jump over to our questions. Now, if you are watching, please feel free to comment, say hello. If you have a follow-up question, or if you want some more feedback on something, or if you're like, can you go just a little bit deeper on that particular topic or subject, by all means, please do ask me. And you know what, you guys, at times I will be using my trusty little whiteboard here at times as well. So I'll be bringing this up and be using this as a tool while we're doing our thing here, in case I need to go deeper on anything or we need to flesh anything out. So that's also there for us to play with. Okay. So without further ado, let's jump to the first question from Roger. The first question is, I hope everybody can hear me okay. First question is, how can I identify my ideal target customer and audience? Okay. So for some of you who aren't familiar with the idea of building a client avatar, all right, there is some really important things that you got to do when you're building out how you want to market your company. You can't market to everybody. Marketing to everybody means you're marketing to nobody. Okay, so write that down. Marketing to everybody means you're marketing to nobody. Okay, in other words, a bland message that's going to reach a whole bunch of eardrums is probably not going to resonate strongly enough with any of those eardrums to actually motivate somebody to come and do business with your company. So you really want to narrow down who you're marketing to. And so I've got some key strategies here to find out who that ideal client actually is. And I'm going to jump over to my screen here and write these down for you. So if you're at home taking notes, here we go. All right. So first things first, the most important thing when you want to identify who your ideal client is you need data. Okay, my friends, you need data. You need information. You need to know who these people are, what makes them tick, and everything else. So how are you going to get the data, and what type of data do you need? So first off, you're going to need demographic data, demographics, and possibly more importantly than that, oh, I'm spinning my chart here, you're going to need psychographic data. Okay, now we're going to come back to this in just a second. But in order to get this, you are going to need to find a way of gathering some of this information from your existing database. So if you've got a group of customers and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm not really entirely sure who my ideal client is. Like, I don't know exactly who they are. I think I kind of could sell to anybody. Or in my database, in my customer database, I see all sorts of different people, right? All sorts of different avatars that there could be. Well, chances are you likely have an ideal client avatar though, and they will emerge. For example, I thought that my ideal client in my brick and mortar pet business was like late 30s, busy moms that had kids and everything was running around, and I was building all my marketing to attract that particular person. Turns out, once I did some surveying of my clients, my top customers, the ones that spent the most money and I actually enjoyed working with the most, were all like 52 to 56-year-old well-off women, right, who'd probably recently become grandmas and empty nesters, and their dog became their new child, and they drove high-end SUVs, and I learned a whole lot about these people. And my actual ideal client was somebody totally different than who I thought it was. So between you and me, do you think it's going to be different marketing to attract a 54-year-old young grandma, right, than it is to attract a 32-year-old busy house mom with 3 kids? Yeah, they want very different things. Okay, so if you want to take a look at how to attract your ideal client or who they actually are, then there's a couple of ways you can do it, and these are the ones that I would recommend. So first off, as I said, you need data. So one of the best things to do is surveys. Okay, surveys or any type of means of connecting with the client in a really quick way, right? Get them to participate in some sort of opt-in survey or some sort of quick questionnaire, right? Surveys, you could call them quizzes. Oh, hang on a second. I'm working with this thing. I'm getting better, I promise. There we go. Quiz. And you've got questionnaires. Okay, and the reason I love these things so much is that you can build out really short ones, really tight ones, really quick ones, right? Anything between 1 and 3 questions. I got a survey from Tim Hortons the other day, a local coffee shop. Actually, the national coffee shop here in Canada. And the thing estimated for me to take 11 minutes. 11 minutes to do a damn survey so I could get some sort of, it wasn't even a free thing. It was a discounted item. They wouldn't even give me a free cup of coffee, okay, for giving them all of that information, right? That is just lame. So the fact is, do anywhere, you guys, from 1 to 3 questions. People don't mind filling out a survey every other week or once a month if it's 1 to 3 questions to give you some information. And what are you starting to find out about, right? And give them a gift. Give them some sort of a thank you for doing the survey. And so what are you trying to find out? Well, you're trying to find out their demographic stuff here. So what goes under demographics? You're trying to find out the age of your ideal client. You're trying to find out whether they have kids or not. And of course, how many kids they've got. Maybe, like their weight or their overall health, that type of thing. Maybe that's important to your company. Maybe things like their geographic location. Okay, there we go. These are all different things that you can find out through demographics. So for example, if you're running a brick and mortar company, right, you might want to know what part of the city they live in, right? Do they live on the east side of the city? Do they live on the west side of the city? Live in the central part of the city? Like, where are they geographically located? You might want to find out how old they are, how many children they've got. Do they where do they love to shop? These are all different demographic types things. Think about demographics, my friends, as anything that you can sort of see from the outside. Okay, anything you can see from the outside. Now, you also want to find out some psychographic information, and this you'll have to get a little more tricky about how to ask for it. But psychographic information is like, what are the motives of your ideal client? So for example, in the pet world, when I'm having a conversation with somebody and we're talking about dog or cat food, let's say, I train my staff to ask, what's your biggest buying motivator here? Is it looking for a great price point? Is it looking for the best quality? which is most important to you? Which one do you feel this most strongly about? You want to find out what the motives are of your ideal client. You want to find out what they fear. What are they afraid of? What's keeping them up at night? Or put a different way, you can ask, what are the challenges that you find in regards to XYZ industry, right? So in the pet world, for example, it might be, what are some of the challenges if you were to feed raw food? What were some of the challenges that you feel you might face? Right? This will tell us some of their fears or hangups are. So that's also really, really important. The other thing is, what do they love? What do they care about? What's important to them? You can rate on a scale of 1 to 10 type questions. These are all different ways of drawing out some information about who your ideal client is. And then last but not least, as far as the psychographics are concerned, what do they do for fun? And you can ask this, as I said, in creative ways, you guys. So it could be something along the lines of like, okay, if you had the chance to go on a vacation and you said you can go to Disneyland, you can go to Hawaii, you can go to London, England, or you can go to, Alaska. You can ask that question and you can start to understand the nature of who your ideal client is based on their answers. So the whole point was that Roger wanted to know, how do you identify your ideal client? And Roger, really what you want to drive for, my friend, is data. You need data points, you need information, right? And the best way to get that, in my experience as a marketer, the best way to get that is to simply start asking your ideal clients about this stuff in very small amounts of information. So you might think, oh, well, I need this data now. Look, if you need the data now, you probably should have started collecting it 6 months ago. So over the course of the next 3 months to 6 months, wouldn't it be empowering and amazing to have collected that data and know a lot about your ideal client so you can build the great best product for them, so you can get to know what their hopes, dreams, and wants are. And so ultimately you can serve them in the most highest level that you possibly can. You might as well start doing that now and getting to know them, but do it in a small way and give them a thank you gift, right? A free this or a free that, or, I've done lots of surveys in different industries where I'm giving away a free product, a low cost to me product that the client would love as a gift for doing a quick survey. Don't do the Tim Hortons thing and ask me to complete a 7-minute survey, right? And give me a half-price coffee. It's lame. All right. So that puts a wrap on that one. Okay. So let's go to the next question.
Yes.
All right. Next question is, how can I use customer feedback or testimonials to grow my business? All right. This is a fantastic question. So I'm going to pop over to my screen here, because one of the things that is really critical here, you guys, is to understand that everything you're doing, right? All of the stuff that you're doing is when you're getting somebody to go from, let's just call it, my mentor Peng Joon would call it Hell Island. So they're on Hell Island and they want to get to Heaven Island, right? They're over here in hell and you want to get them to here in heaven. And you have the product for them and everything else. Here's the thing. They want to buy it. They want to have this problem solved. So the biggest hurdle that you have to overcome in sales is this. They have to believe you. They've got to believe you, right? This is what has to happen. And so before they believe you, okay, you have got a number of things over here. You have got a bunch of obstacles that you have to overcome. And then once they believe you, they believe that your solution is going to work for them, then there's a bunch of objections. So you have obstacles versus objections. Okay? And your testimonials, your client stories, serve different purposes based on whether they're on this side or whether they're on this side of the moment. So if they're on this side, okay, if this is before they've seen your offer, before you've made them said, okay, this is what we can do for you, and you've made your pitch, okay? If they're on the obstacles side, then your client testimonials, your client stories serve to attract your client. That's what purpose they serve. So, Cindy, you're asking, how do you use them? You use these stories to attract your ideal client, right? you attract them. So let me take my notes here. This is, you want to show them the desired outcome. Okay. What you're showing you're sharing a client story, a testimonial that illustrates the desired outcome that your client would love to have. Either your prospect wants to lose weight, right? You show them a before and after story of one of your clients having lost a bunch of weight. Your client wants to drive a beautiful Audi, right? You show them a before or that a picture of a client in an Audi, absolutely in love with what it is they're doing, right? Show the desired outcome. The other thing it serves is people want to know that they're going to be happy with what you're offering them. I know that sounds really simple, but that's the truth, my friends. That's the magic. They want to be thrilled buying your product or service. So the fact of the matter is, your testimonials serve as showing happy clients. I know that sounds simple, but that's really one of the things they serve. Is people want to be happy. They want to be satisfied. So your testimonial is great on this side of the ledger, okay, to show that. Now, the other thing, they show a clarity of offer or a clarity of solution. You ever have one of those moments, you guys, where you're like, okay, I really want this thing solved, but I'm not really sure how to solve that. And you wind up reading a review or you read a testimonial and it gives you clarity about how that problem gets solved. Not everybody is what we would call in the marketing world solution aware. So your client stories, your testimonials on the pre-purchase phase can serve to clarify what it is that you offer the marketplace. It can serve to clarify this. Very powerful tool. Okay. Now, once you've made your offer, okay, because a client sits over here, you want you want to get them over to here, and the way that they get to that spot is you make them an offer. Okay, so you make them a pitch. You say, buy this fitness solution, buy this Audi, buy our content solution, right? Whatever it is, you make them an offer. Everything pre-offer in dollars, and this is how much it costs moment, is called obstacles. Everything after that are called objections, okay? So on the objection side, now that they've seen your offer and what you're doing, this here, all of your client testimonials, Cindy, they serve to affirm what it is that you've just offered, okay? They serve to affirm this. That's what they're doing. Sorry, my messy whiteboard here, everybody, but you get the idea. So to affirm this, now what you have is a moment where the client asks, does this really work? Or, no, not a question mark, sorry. I need an exclamation mark. There we go. I'll get it right, I promise. There we go. So it really works. What it is you're offering, the testimonial serves as a way of affirming that what you're offering really works, legitimizes it. So the person says, wow, this fitness solution, it could really work for me. Okay, I can see how the keto diet can work. Here's a testimonial. Okay, now this affirms that this can work, right? They believe the concept, and now you show somebody else going through it as an example that it really does work. Okay, so it affirms, or it really works. Sure, sorry. You can show them a real result. Not a made up one, not a pretend one, not a you do this and this could happen one. Okay. You're affirming with your testimonial. So you're showing a real life result, a real life trial and process here of what it is that you're offering somebody. And that testimonial can serve as a real result example once somebody has bought into the idea of what you're offering them. Okay. And the other thing is that when somebody buys something, okay, I'm going to switch my screen here for a second. One thing we have to remember, you guys, is the only reason somebody ever buys something is because they ultimately feel like what they're investing with their dollars, they're getting more back in response. Okay. So if I go out and I buy a burger for $10, that burger is worth more to me inside my stomach than the $10. Does that make sense? Okay. If I want to go out and buy that $80,000 Audi, it's actually worth more to me than the $80,000. People buy when they feel like what they're exchanging, aka their dollar volume, is higher than what they're getting. Then they go, yes, I want to buy this. Does that make sense? So the reason I'm saying this is because your testimonials can serve as a great way of illustrating that they're getting more than their dollars. So they're actually getting more value. The testimonial serves as an example of more value, Cindy, than what the client is giving in dollar figure. There's a psychological element to this, that they're actually giving $50, $100, $5,000, $10,000, whatever it is, and what they're getting in return is worth far more than that. And a testimonial serves as a great way of affirming that belief. Okay, so to summarize, a testimonial in your in your marketing side of things serves to attract clients by showing the desired outcome, illustrating a happy client story, and giving clarity to the offer that you're going to make. And then after you've said this is how much it's going to cost, the testimonial serves as a way of affirming the belief that your prospect has started to adopt, which is, oh gosh, this really does work. And I can see some real results, some proof, some evidence. And this is worth way more to me. Look at how happy these people are. Look at the results they've got. This is worth way more to me than my $50, my $100, my $5,000, whatever it is. Okay. So Cindy, if you want to know how to use those testimonials really powerfully, that's how to use them. I know it was a bit of a deep dive on this, but trust me when I tell you that when you use testimonials effectively, my friends, they can serve as the real, we'll go over to the next. Yeah. It's kind of fun to come in. They serve a really powerful purpose. We have a bunch in the audience here right now. Anybody have any questions about that? So anybody watching live here, you can certainly comment. Throw me a question if you've got any in regards to that. Anything in regards to the testimonial stuff before we move on to question number 3. And question number 3, you guys, is for the math nerds. For all you nerds out there, this one is for the math nerds. Okay. Everyone's going to be like, oh, God, we're leaving. My live empties when I say the word math nerd. Watch everybody leave. Okay. Okay. So question number 3 is, yeah, see, I look at that. That's so funny. My live watchers went down a little bit when I mentioned the word math nerds. There we go. That's funny. I'll do one of these. Okay. Oh my God. Speaking of nerds. Okay. So what metrics should I use to grow my business? That was from Diane. Okay. So Diane, I'm going to give you 2 predominant metrics here. That's it. The metrics that you use in your company are so specific to your industry. You guys, it's really hard for someone who spent as much time in marketing as I have and business I have. It's still really hard for me to go, that's the exact metric that you should follow. But there are 2, okay, my friends, there are 2 that I look for when it comes to metrics that I feel are kind of over the top. My buddy Keith is laughing at me here. Thanks for joining me, Keith. Yeah, you like the music there, bud? Yeah, he would like the music. I'll give Keith a little bit of this. There you go, Keith. Thank you for joining me, Keith. There we go. Keith is a wonderful business consultant, guys. He's brilliant. And I love his support. Thanks, buddy. All right. So if you are wanting some key metrics on how to grow your company, I'm going to give you the 2 that I love. Okay. And there's just 2 of them. Now, I will warn you, when you look at these 2 metrics, though, you can understand how there's a rabbit hole you can dive down with these metrics. All right. But before we get there, let's just figure this out. Okay. And we're going to work in sort of reverse order of how these might lay out. So first off, what I look for in a company is LTV. Okay. Oh my goodness. LTV. There we go. What does that mean? That means lifetime value. So what is the lifetime value of a client? What is it? That's the big question here. if you're looking at your business and you want to scale things, this is one of the questions that people run into when they're going, like, how much is a company worth? Is the marketing that I want to invest in worth it? You can't answer that question, my friends, until you know what the lifetime value of a client is. Because, for example, in the pet industry here, a per transaction value, so lifetime value, you guys, is dollar. Whoa, here we go. Dollar. Come on, I was going to put a P. $1 per purchase. Okay, P stands for purchase. Dollar per purchase. So in the pet world, this is about $50. That's it. One client spends on average $50 when they walk into my store. That's what it is. In some industries, it's way higher. Some industries, it's even less. Dollar stores are even less than this. Okay, so dollar per purchase. And then really lifetime value is just a multiplier times how many purchases equals LTV. So it's quite simple. How much money are they spending every time they come in? So per purchase, and how many times do they come in? That's it, right? So if you were to look at this from the pet industry, so the average client that we get coming in, our average client comes into our store 22 times. 22 times. That's the average. Now, there are some clients, of course, that come in once and don't come back, unfortunately. There are some clients that come in hundreds of times. But the average in 2022, I don't have 2023's numbers yet, but the average in 22 was 22 times. So an average lifetime value of a client for my business in the pet world is approximately $1,100. So without diving into the nitty-gritty of how much profit is there in that $1,100 and what your margins are and all of that stuff, just keeping this as simple as possible. One of the earliest metrics that I look at, Diane, is lifetime value of a client. And if my lifetime value of a client is $1,100, that allows me to go, okay, then what is the next metric? What is my client acquisition cost? Okay, so if you've got lifetime value, the other most important metric that you're going to look at is client acquisition cost. In other words, how much does it cost me to gather one of these people? Because I know they're going to come in 22 times on average. So how much is it going to cost me? And client acquisition cost is also a relatively simple number to initially figure out. Okay, so, and I use a metric called leads per sale multiplied times cost per lead. Okay, for all you math nerds out there, this is what we like here. This equals your client acquisition cost. So how many leads do you need to generate in order to make a single sale or generate a single client? And then how much does it cost per lead? So for example, let's say that you sold 1 out of every 10 people. So it took you 10 leads to acquire a single paying client. Okay. And each lead was $200 in Facebook ads, like your content strategy. You're paying somebody to help you with your content strategy, right? All those types of things, right? So for example, my marketing company, we run content strategies for companies, mostly focused on short video stuff. And they want to know, well, how much money, if I'm investing a couple $1,000s in this every single month, how many leads am I going to get from there? And then we find out how many sales they're going to get from each of those leads. Like we can dial this down to what it is going to be per lead, right? So in this particular case, so if it took 10 leads to get a single sale, okay, 10 leads per sale, and it was $200 a lead, a single sale would be worth $2,000. If you were to connect these two numbers here, right, my pet business numbers and this number, you would be going backwards to grow your company, right? Your lifetime value of a client is $1,100 and your actual cost to acquire the client is $2,000. You're losing money, right, my friends? This is not a good equation for the pet industry. This is a really good equation if you are selling a $5,000 program. This is a really good equation if you're selling a $10,000 program, right? But the reason I like client acquisition costs is it allows us to go, okay, what happens when we improve our sales? So if we do sales training and we double our sales, so now rather than 1 out of every 10 clients say yes, 1 out of every 5 clients say yes. So we have 5 leads per sale, and we just leave this as the same, 200. Now we just cut our client acquisition cost in half. Right? So this is a really, really, really important metric to understand how to grow and scale your business and to find out where the gaps are. Like, where's the actual gaps that we're running into in our company? And why are we? I know lots of companies that don't understand why they lose money. They don't understand, right? They're looking for, they're trying to be like, hello, why am I losing this cash? We start to understand these metrics and it all becomes clear. It all starts to become really, really clear, right? So those are the 2 key metrics, Diane, that I would use if I was you to start to really understand what it's going to take to grow my company. And there's all sorts of nuance in these. If anyone ever wants to go deeper on this, reach out to me. This is something that my team and I do. This is how we help clients grow their companies, is to understand the lifetime value and the client acquisition cost in a really deep way for your specific company, for your industry, what's happening with you. And it's a very, very valuable understanding tool to know how to grow your company that way. Okay. My buddy Keith had to rock and roll. Thanks so much, Keith. Thanks for joining me, buddy. Much appreciated. Okay. Now, next question. So let's pop over to our next question. So here we go. Next one is from Chuck. He says, what are some roadblocks I can be prepared for when growing my company? All right. So without knowing too much of the detail about Chuck's exact company, there could be a lot of different roadblocks. But I'm going to give you guys the few that I know of that are going to stand in the way of most companies. First off is going to be, how do you scale? How do you scale your company? Right? That's going to be a big, huge question mark that you've got to ask. If you're a solopreneur right now, so let's say you run a coaching company, or let's say you run a consulting company or a services company, it's just you. All right. How you scale is basically by going, okay, and you can see I was actually brainstorming about this behind me right now. That's not that whole Adam looking thing isn't done yet, but I was brainstorming some concepts. And as a CEO of your company, and you're just a solopreneur, you're doing kind of everything. So when you want to expand, you want to start going, okay, what are the roles that I'm really good at, and what are the roles that I stink at that I should be delegating off to other people? And so one of the key things to do is to start to identify, what are the hats that I want to be wearing? What are the hats that I should be wearing? And at what stage do I start to delegate this stuff out? So if you want to scale your company, Chuck, and I don't know Chuck very well, so I can't speak to exactly where he's sitting, but you really want to know what role you want to play in your company, what you're best at, how you're best suited to serve your business, and then start delegating. I call them the ATOMs. So you either delegate, automate, or you eliminate. You ATOM. Okay, so you ATOM. You figure out what the ATOMs are of your business, and you start to actively pursue those things. Because over a short period of time, you can actually get a lot more done. You can serve a lot more clients if you just start delegating some of the stuff off or eliminating it completely. Okay. The other thing is that you want to eliminate scope creep. Okay. So you can see me, I was writing some notes here right behind my head. Scope creep is really a dangerous element as a solopreneur or as somebody who's providing services. And what I mean by scope creep is that you have a project, okay, and the scope of the project is X. What happens is back and forth with the client, especially if that project stretches out over some time, 3 months, 6 months, that type of thing. You wind up being in a position where the client maybe adds on a little bit. Hey, could you also just include this? Could you also just include that? And the scope of the work starts to creep outwards, right? Think of it like a pond. You've got your pond, the framework of what you want to do, what you're supposed to be doing with this client. You've got your framework here. What happens is the client keeps pouring in some water into the pond and going, could you do a little bit more of this? Could I add a little bit more of that? Hey, I know we said we were going to do this 3 months ago, but now things have changed a little bit internally. Could we shift it to this instead? And whatever that this is less efficient for you. So takes up more space and more room on your schedule. And what winds up happening is the scope of the work and the project creeps outwards, and you wind up getting really inefficient and ineffective with your time. And the biggest downfall of this is a little bit of resentment, sometimes on both sides of the equation, right? You're less efficient at what you said you were going to do because the project has changed. So the client's not as happy. And you're not as happy because the scope of what you're supposed to do has shifted and changed. And now you're not as comfortable doing the project. You're not as excited about it, et cetera, et cetera. So scope creep, you guys, is a really big challenge when you want to grow your company, to make sure that whatever you're doing stays within the frameworks of what you've offered. Okay. The other thing, cash flow. So as you're doing and expanding these things, when companies are in their growth stage, and this is really for most small businesses, this is anything south of $1 million in annual revenue. Okay. You can have expenses that pop up. You know, the air conditioning and stuff like that at my brick and mortar business here, it had to get fixed. That was $60,000. Done, gone. Woo, take it. That's a cash flow challenge. Now, thankfully, I run a north of 7-figure business and we can figure it out. But the fact is that those cash flow challenges pop up. So when you're growing your company, getting a cash flow chart done, understanding where you're at, and if your revenue keeps going, you know, and have different versions. What if a revenue goes down a little bit? What if a revenue goes up? What if a revenue stays relatively the same? Have a cash flow chart figured out so that you know when some of these big bills can come in and be dealt with and paid, and when the right time is to expand your company. Okay. And then the last thing is what I call RES. Okay. This is a huge problem for small business owners. Huge problem. RES. What does this stand for? This stands for restless entrepreneur syndrome. Also known as, squirrel, right? We call it the shiny object syndrome, right? This can be one of the biggest killers for entrepreneurial minded people. They say they're being artistic and they're following their whims and everything else. Well, my friends, right? I have used the analogy many times before that when you see those guys that spin plates, they spin plates on the stage, they get one plate spinning really, really, really well before they set up the second one, right? Then they go back and forth and they spin both plates, spin both plates, spin both plates, spin both plates. And then they go from the 2 to the 3. So this right here, my friends, is before you start expanding and adding another product or adding another line of things or starting another company, really make sure that yours is working as best as it possibly can. And a big part of that is putting in some really thorough SOPs. Okay. One of the ways of combating restless entrepreneur syndrome is to have wonderful people that can run your company for you so that you can just indulge this a little bit. So you can go have some fun with your restless entrepreneur syndrome and look at some new projects and look at some other cool stuff. And to do that, you need to have a team, and a team needs SOPs. So if you're doing anything in your company repetitively, my advice to you is early on in the process, when you don't have an abundance of clients, when you have a little bit more time in your schedule, build out your standard operating procedures. Even if it's just in rough note form to begin with, you can always have a VA help you make it look pretty. My assistant Isha, she does this stuff for me all the time. She makes my messy scribbles of this leads to that leads to this. She makes them pretty. I love her for it. But the fact is you want to have a set of standard operating procedures so that when you get your RES, when you get your restless entrepreneur syndrome, and you start looking at other things, you have an existing business that's operating effectively. It's doing its thing. It's good at it. And when you're good at running a business, it will free up time in your schedule. I am a perfect example of somebody who built a great business. It's successful. It runs. It operates. Everybody knows their job. They all love being here. They are following our standard operating procedures every single day to fulfill what our clients need. And that allows me the flexibility to pursue other ventures like being on here with you. So that is my answer to Chuck's question about some of the obstacles that you're going to face when you're growing your company. And I hope you guys got great value out of today. This was fun. This is, we're 41 minutes in here, and it's been a ton of fun. I've had a good time. messing around with my software and having a little bit of fun with this and doing all my fun stuff. And it's been great. So, my friends, if you got good value out of this, please join us in the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle Facebook group. It's a free group. I go live in there all the time. Plus, you can take our 5 days for 1 year of marketing bootcamp that's right inside that Facebook group. So you can go over there and access that. And if you are looking for help with your marketing, book a Compass call, right? So you can reach out to myself within the group or reach out to me personally here. Book a Compass call. A Compass call is basically a 45-minute chat where you and I sit down. We find out where you would love to be with your company. You'd absolutely love to build a company that's doing this and where you currently are. And we find out how to get the right trajectory to get you there. So I call it a Compass call because it's often needing to have your got to autocorrect a little bit to where you'd love to be. And we book these calls all the time, and we find out if there's anything that we can do to help people, of course, right? It's a great way of us showing what services we can provide companies to help them grow. Shameless plug there. But more than that, it's just a great way to figure out, okay, this is where I'd love to be. This is where I am. How do I get there? What's the jump I can take and get a roadmap to that type of success? So I hope you got great value out of this today, you guys. If you are watching live at all, please say hello. Leave us a comment here. I've had a bunch through Facebook, which is awesome. If you're watching on, let's see, can my software tell me here? Everyone's watching through Facebook, so none through YouTube right now. Okay, that's cool. So if you're watching here, please give us a shout out. Say hello. Give us a wave, that type of thing. It's been an absolute slice. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. And until next time, I have been Michael Bridgman. You have been awesome. So go out there, enchant your audience, make some magic happen. And this has been another episode of the Q&A session for Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. Ciao for now.